listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome into the GM Shuffle. Geoff Schwartz, 8 years National Football League, pick 241 in the 2008 draft. And I was drafted by this guy, Marty Hurney here, Carolina Panthers general manager for a long time, also the SVP of player personnel for the Commanders. I worked for the Chargers front office as well. 30 years NFL front offices, Marty. We are close to the draft. It is tomorrow night, round 1 tomorrow night, rounds 2 and 3 on Friday, rounds 3 through 7 on Saturday. As we did on our Monday show, we're going to finish our mock draft. We did 1 through 16 on Monday. Go back and check that out. YouTube, rate and subscribe, your favorite podcast platform of choice. Also, reminder, Monday we'll have our draft recap as well. So bookmark our page on YouTube for that. And then today we're going to do 17 through 32. Here's how we started. You ready, Marty? Vegas Raiders, draft number 1. Mendoza, as we know. Jets, picking number 2. We chose David Bailey for them. The Cardinals at 3. We chose Arvell Reese. Tennessee Titans at 4. Sonny Styles, a linebacker from Ohio State. The Giants, paired with Jeremiah Love. The Browns, you went with Monroe Freeling, which, again, if you read a lot of mock drafts, maybe an outlier, but again, sort of the pure left tackle of this group. The Commanders at 7, drafted Caleb Downs. The Saints at 8, with Delane, the corner out of LSU. The Chiefs draft Reuben Bain, the edge rusher from Miami. The Giants at 10, take Cardinal Tate, the wide receiver from Ohio State. The Dolphins draft Maunoga, the O tackle from Miami. The Cowboys, again, they might trade. We're not doing trades. They draft Caden Proctor here from Alabama. The Rams take Mekhi Lemon from USC, the wide receiver. The Ravens at 14 take Vega Ione from Penn State, the guard. The Bucks take Mexidor, the defensive end, the edge rusher from Miami. And the Jets, Marty, at pick 16, take Jermon McCoy, the cornerback out of Tennessee. That was very fast. Go back to Monday's show to hear a more detailed explanation for this. But Marty, off the top here, anything you would like to change or anything that's come to your attention in the last 48 hours with our first 16 picks?
Well, as soon as I made the Jermon McCoy pick at 16, I mean, he is a very talented player. He's a top half of the draft talented player. There are some questions. He tore his ACL, which I think is fine, but that knee, there's some concerns reportedly about cartilage. I don't think the Jets are going to stay in that spot. I think they're going to trade back. I think there's going to be teams that want to move up, probably for an offensive lineman, offensive tackle. But they need defensive help. So I put that kind of as a place marker because they were last in the league. They only created 4 takeaways last year. So they have to get guys who can turn the ball over. But I with Jermon McCoy, it's just going to depend really on what teams have on him as far as the medical concern goes. And then you go back to 6 where Cleveland is, and we're talking, Jeff. I think Cleveland wants an offensive lineman. I think they can get one a little bit later, and I think that they would be looking to trade back out of 6 if somebody's willing to move up.
Every mock draft, including the one we just did, talked about this idea that Cleveland wants to move back, which I think is certainly possible, Marty. But who are the players available at 6 that teams would trade up to try to grab, right? So we did our draft. As of right now, the way we had our draft, the guy that would be available potentially would be Caleb Downs, right? Because Styles has been drafted, Reese has been drafted, right. Bailey has been drafted. So which are the guys at 6, if you're the Cowboys at 12 or surprise team that you want to move up, okay, to 6, which are the players that you're doing it for?
If you're if you're saying, let's just say the Cowboys, and Caleb Downs is considered one of the best players in this draft, so he would have to be included. I think Mansour Delane would be very attractive to Dallas to move up. I think that would be the player. I think if they moved up, it would be for a defensive player, and that's the guy I think they would move up for.
And 12 to 6 is not a first round pick next season, correct?
No, it's about 400 points, so it's really a second this season. If you're Cleveland, if you're a team like Cleveland, if you're a team like the Jets, this is a chance now. If you're trading back, you don't dismiss taking a draft choice for next year, because that will give you more capital if you do want to move up into a draft that is supposed to be pretty quarterback heavy, at least for right now. It's a better class than this. So if teams that need quarterbacks want to stockpile draft picks for next year, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, everyone would love to move down. The question is who wants to move up. I think as of right
Right.
now, the teams I've identified as maybe move up teams. Cowboys certainly they have the 2 first round picks. The Chiefs, if they desperately want one of these defensive players, they need to have them. Maybe they've been aggressive in the past. I could see maybe there's talk about the Cardinals moving up for Ty Simpson into first round. But I think the Chiefs and Cowboys are 2. I have one more team, maybe 2 more teams, Marty, that I think could move up. The Lions up for an offensive lineman they want, right? Getting
Yep.
ahead of the Ravens, potentially 14.
Yep.
And the Eagles doing the
Yep.
same thing. The Eagles love an offensive tackle. I can see them going ahead of the Lions to draft an offensive tackle. So those are sort of a couple. Just keep your eye on some of those teams on draft night. It's going to be very wild. Well, it's not going to be wild. Maybe it will be. Who knows? It's going to be our mock draft, Marty. You are starting us off here. Pick 17 for the Detroit Lions. They are very heavily the favorite to draft an offensive lineman here. Our partners at DraftKings, who have been great with us all season long here, they have the Lions. I think it's like I'm gonna pull up. I think it's like minus 300 draft an offensive lineman with the first pick of their draft. I mean, it just feels like a match made in heaven here. What do you have here for the Detroit Lions?
So this is a really interesting pick, what we've talked about, Jeff. So if you go off our mock draft, Spencer Fanu, the tackle from Utah, is sitting right there, right, for Detroit. And
Yeah.
I think that's why the Jets are in a really good spot at 16, because if our mock draft stays true and Fano's still on the board, I think he's going to get a lot of interest for teams moving up. But if he is there and the Jets didn't trade back, or somebody didn't trade up to get him, I think that this is a slam dunk pick for the Lions. Spencer Fanu, the offensive tackle out of Utah. They desperately need help on the offensive line. They need a tackle. And he is really considered one of the top 2 or 3 tackles in this draft.
Is he staying at tackle in the NFL?
That's where I would give him his first shot. He certainly can move in the guard,
Yeah.
but I do think he's athletic enough to play there. I would try him there, Jeff, and that's the thing. And I mean, offensive line, shoot. I mean, John Matsko, you have to play more in one position anyway, don't you? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, most of us
you
do.
have to be able to move around the offense line in this league now.
Yeah, I mean,
So
you have to, and look, I think the philosophy. Correct me if I'm wrong here. For a long time, was you need to have an outstanding left tackle, which is still true. But if you put
right,
your resources into that position, you can figure out the rest of it, Marty. You can't do that anymore, right? Because
no,
defenses attack the weak link in the offense, which is not again. I came in 2008. It was not that way, right? You played if you were a defensive lineman over the same guy every single snap, whether it was pass rush time or I love those days. Oh, I miss those days, Marty. Just give me that big old 3 technique. You can't run around me, just to run right into the middle of my chest. That's not that way anymore, right? So you need 5
no,
guys now. You need 5. You'd rather have 5 sort of average, in my opinion, than the Niners. Niners is a good example, right? Like all pro Hall of Famer and then sort of meh the rest of the way in. I'd rather have 5 good offensive linemen than 1 Hall of Famer, right? And Fano fits that role, right? He comes in right away,
right,
becomes one of those guys.
right. Right, right. And
So,
his versatility is a plus. And to your point, I think you start building your offense line as far as center and left tackle, but guards are really important. It gets more important every year because defenses are trying to get these mobile quarterbacks off the spot, and interior pass rush is becoming more and more important every year. So you want guys with flexibility that can move and from guard and tackle.
So pick 18 is mine, the Minnesota Vikings. It feels like one position only right now. I think it's going to be this way, Marty. I have him drafting Dylan Thieneman, the safety out of Oregon. Just walks in, replaces Harrison Smith immediately. Very rarely, I think, you get a 1-for-1 replacement for a player who just retired. Um, but it feels like this is the spot for Thieneman right here. Could the Vikings go pass rush? Absolutely. I just don't know who that would be right now. Get the next best safety on the board out of Oregon here. A very versatile player, tackles really well in space. very fast, work on his coverage skills a little bit, Marty, but I think very versatile in what the Vikings want to do defensively. I got Thieneman here at 18.
He's a really good player to position in need, Jeff. But the only other thing is, if Jordan Tyson is still there, do they ever go wide receiver? Even though
Do
they
we still have Tyson
really don't
available? Oh, geez.
need it.
I
Yeah,
forgot. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Tyson's still there.
I mean, for
Um,
for the sake of maybe like favoring a home team here, I feel like if we save Tyson for the next pick, that works out much better for a team that I root for a little bit every now and then. But
it makes it a lot harder for me, though. I'm trying to get you to take him off the board.
I mean, look,
It kind of messes
I
me
think
up here.
if we were to if we were to talk about sort of the things that we would change in the first 16 picks, it does feel like Tyson is going at some point in the first 16 picks, Marty. I
It
don't know
does.
where.
Yes.
Um, I don't think it's a top 8, which is what his over under is right now. It's 8.5. Maybe the
Yeah,
Saints at 8. Feel like that pick, but it feels like the Giants at 10 feel likely for that. Maybe the Dolphins at 11 want to go wide receiver. I still think with Addison and with Jefferson, you have wide receiver set there. I do think that safety is probably the way they go here. But if Tyson is, again, if he's greater higher than Thieneman, he's going to go. But I'm taking Dylan though. I'll make you choose at 19 the position to take for the Panthers, but you're not going to do it now because we have a short segment
Right.
left here. We'll start the top of the next segment with the Panthers. But walk me back to the Panthers room right now.
See,
You have Sadiq on the board and Tyson on the
yep.
board.
Yep.
How are you breaking that tie?
And you have a couple of receivers on the board. And listen, they want a big receiver. They want a big target. Okay. And I'm telling you, Dunzel Boston's still on the board too, correct? So
Yeah.
they
So
want a they want a big receiver. This is a point where if I'm sitting there and there's 3 guys right there and somebody wants to trade, up 2 or
yeah,
3 spots, I would consider that.
I think you would consider that as well. I mean, that's such a fascinating part of this. And the 8 minutes now you get, does that affect the ability to make some of these trades? Instead of the 15 minutes, you get 8 now.
Yeah, but you're on the phone a couple picks before, so that should not have any effect.
I want to talk about trades, and then we'll get back to the Panthers pick at 19. We'll do that next year. GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
We're back here in the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. I've been a partner of ours all season. Very much enjoy DraftKings, and all these wagers that we might bring up are on DraftKings right now. They have a lot of tabs open, Marty. We'll give you a wager or two that we like at the end of the show here, but you're on the clock at 19 with the Panthers. You talked about trades. I'm so fascinated to kind of learn how the process works. So let's say you're back with the Panthers. You're at pick 19 here. Who is doing the calling? How have you called? How do you know who might be willing to talk to you? Like, how does that process work, Marty?
Well, it really does start, Jeff, days before, like right now going in, you really, I would call a lot of people and have a pretty good feel for what each team was looking for or thinking. And obviously, you can't believe everything you hear, but if you do it long enough, you get to figure out kind of what to believe. On draft night, as far as the trade structure goes, we would have 3 scouts and divide up teams and give them certain teams to have a contact there. And it would be another scout for another team that are on the phones. Every team does it differently, but we had 3 guys on the phone. Some teams have 4, some teams have 2. I obviously would be on the phone as well as Geoff Morrow, who would be to my right. We would have everybody, if they had contacts, would call, but we'd have those 3 guys. So if we're five picks out and we have a list of 5 players that we want 5 picks out. Now, if we're getting to 3 out and 2 out, and those 5 are still there, we're going to have our guys call and see if anybody's interested in moving 2 or 3 spots back, where we're pretty sure we can still get somebody in that first clump and just see what we could get moving back. I always said that if your chances are a lot better of getting a trade done if they call you instead of you having to call them. But sometimes it does work. You call and you throw something out to a team and they get back, they run it by their general manager and get it back to you, or you're fielding calls. And like the scenario that we are dealing with right now, I think that, if the Carolina Panthers are up on the board with a tight end and a couple of big receivers, that they're good, could be teams behind them, say the Pittsburgh Steelers, whoever, that would want to move up a couple spots and get the receiver that they want. So it's very fluid. You have to make sure that the draft room is extremely quiet, a pick or two before you come in to it. And there's conversations when you get some of the trade possibilities. You would then go up to the board, bring your head coach up and a couple of your scouts, the main decision makers, and go through it and go through your options of if you're trading four picks back or 5 picks back, who's going to be on the board then, and does that original top 5 have a chance of having 1 or 2 guys alive when you move up back? So there's a lot of conversations, but again, in the meetings heading into the draft, you've gone over this. You've gone over every scenario. So it's not a surprise. Now you're just trying to get any options that you have, and your mindset and you're thinking of how you're going to address it. So it's really not hard because you've done so much preparation work on it.
So now the hard part in our podcast is you have to pick the Carolina Panthers here at 19, Marty. Who are you taking for the Panthers?
Yeah, and again, they're in a really good spot right now. I mean, Jordan Tyson has fallen. I tried to get you to take him earlier before me so I could have an easier pick. I'll be honest, my pick here, if he was off the board, was going to be Kenyon Sadiq, although I do think Denzel Boston is another option for them. They want a big receiver that can separate and give Bryce Young a big target. And I'm telling you, Denzel Boston is that guy. He doesn't drop balls. I think he's got 3 drops. He's a big receiver that has a good catch radius and strong hands. Jordan Tyson is probably the best. You have to feel very comfortable with the injury history. So now you got to decide, okay, if Jordan Tyson's your top wide receiver, now you have Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end. That is a really hard pick right now. I mean, I think that Tyson would probably be the higher on the boards. I think that that's what you have to do, is go to your board and see who is higher. But right now, I'm gonna go with the highest rated guy, and I'm gonna go with Jordan Tyson. Although I really, it's hard to pass up Sadiq for them,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm gonna do. Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver.
I think the Panthers would be over the moon if they got Jordan Tyson. I think that's like
Yes.
the best case scenario
Yes.
for them to be in this spot. The interesting part about this is like finding a home for Kenyon Sadiq is like getting tougher now. I mean, the guy that I think we both agree is really, really good, but finding him a home is interesting now because I got picked 20. The Cowboys are not drafting a tight end. The Cowboys went in our draft with Caden Proctor with their first pick. They need to go defense here. It does feel like best player available right now is going to be a cornerback over a pass rusher. I mean, look, I think we like the potential and size of Folk. I don't think we agree that he's going to be productive immediately. Messidor, it's a little older. I'm not sure they're going to draft him. McCoy's gone. I think the next corner off the board is Colton Hood out of Tennessee, Marty. So I'm going to have the Cowboys taking Hood here out of Tennessee to be their the 20th pick in the draft if it ends up working out this way. They need a cornerback over pass rusher. I'll have them taking Hood here.
Yeah, I like that pick, Jeff. I as far as corners go, and I personally like D'Angelo Pons, the nickel from
I know it's
Indiana,
early for
a
him though, right?
lot, but he's going to get pushed back and pushed back and pushed back because of the height. But man, Jeff, when you watch his tape, he does everything a big guy does, but you can't take away the height, right? It's under 5'9". But yeah, I like that pick. I think, would they ever consider TJ Parker the edge from Clemson? Then that spot would be the other guy I would throw in there. But I really do like that pick a lot.
I think the Cowboys would be happy with their draft so far. All right, Marty. 21 is the Pittsburgh Steelers here. I think they would have loved if Jordan Tyson fell to them, but that's not the case. So you have Pittsburgh here at 21. What do you like for the Steelers?
Well, I mean, here we go. We're back to 2 picks ago, and I mean, it's. I think Steelers have to be either Denzel Austin or Kenyon Sadiq, and they have the tight end. I just think that Boston fits them perfectly as far as a big physical receiver who catches the ball. And they need weapons, right? They need more weapons. No matter who the quarterback is, they need more weapons at wide receiver. It's so hard because Kenyon Sadiq, and you can speak more to this, Geoff, but Kenyon Sadiq is really, I mean, is he not at least 50% receiver, maybe 75% receiver? I mean,
Yeah,
he's a guy who
both.
you're
Yeah.
going to put in space, right? And he is
Yes.
a willing blocker, but you're not drafting him to block. So you're drafting him to be a receiver. So I don't think the Steelers can go wrong here. I'm going to go with the wide receiver in place of the tight end, but I mean, either one of those guys would be huge ads for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the tight ends they have now, they just look at wide receiver, right? I think wide receiver is
Right,
absolutely who they're going to pick here,
right.
and that feels like the way for this one to go here. And so it would not surprise me if they went in this direction here. We have a wide receiver for Pittsburgh. Any thought about Ty Simpson to Pittsburgh at all here, Marty?
Geoff, somebody's gonna. I just think it's too early, Geoff. And again, I see him more as a top second rounder. Although I do believe somebody's gonna move up in from the second round into the bottom of the first, probably if they do like him to get him in the first and get the 5th-year option. I just think it's. I don't know. I mean, if you think he can be your future starter, sure, you take him there, but again, they've done this once before a few years ago, and I don't know with Kenny Pickett. I don't see them doing that here. I think they got to get more weapons for whoever the quarterback.
Yeah, I'm in agreement here. Do teams so Sadiq not being drafted yet is pretty much a surprise, right? I mean that feels unlikely to happen, but I don't know we haven't really gone wrong anywhere without drafting him yet. I don't, in my opinion, there's been a massive overage. Is it are teams starting to think about trading up for him? Is he that type of player that you could see that happening for?
Yeah, I would be really shocked if he was still on the board. But yeah, I think teams one look to trade up, and two, now you're in best player available mode, right? So your needs go out the window. If a guy is sitting there that you think if he's all the way up here on the board and you're picking down here, you have to go
Yeah,
with that guy. I mean, if there is a lot of space between a player and your pick
yeah.
and he's sitting up there by himself, you would have to go with best player available. And that's hard sometimes to do as an organization because you're not maybe addressing your needs, but you don't go wrong with drafting the best player.
So I have the Chargers at 22, and I think this is where that conversation begins, Marty, right? Because look at the Chargers right now, right? They potentially need defensive linemen, right? Pass rusher, defensive tackle, offensive line, but right now the highest player on their board is Sadiq. And they have Gaston, as we know, right? At tight end. That's really it. They got one, right? I think Sadiq goes 22 to the Chargers if the draft pulls out this way. I'm going to take Sadiq for the Chargers. I think it's a long shot. I don't think it probably happens this way. I think Harbaugh doesn't resist taking the best player on the board here. Marty, what do you think?
I totally agree with you. I don't think, like you, I don't think he's there for the Chargers, but if he is, I think they run up the card. I mean,
Yeah,
I think that whenever you get to a spot where you're sitting there and a guy's sitting there that you didn't think was going to be there, you're right, Geoff. Some teams will get twitchy and try to trade up a couple spots to get him. But if you're sitting there and he's right there, I think you have to do it. So I love the pick, and I think that that's what the Chargers would do if he was there. And I think they would be thrilled if he was it.
so Chargers have Sadiq at 22. Again, I mean, look, could they go, is it Caleb Woods, right? The defensive tackle, Caleb Banks, the big defensive tackle out of Florida. And that feels like a Harbaugh guy, 6'6", 330 to play defensive tackle there. But Sadiq will be graded much higher, unless of course, we think that that's not the case. I can't imagine what Sadiq to the Chargers odds are. It's
Yeah, really.
something
That'll probably be
astronomical
pretty
there.
high.
I'm trying to find it right now. I mean, I would imagine that's pretty high here. Okay, we have picks 23 through 32 next. GM Shuffle presented by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
We're back in the GM Shuffle. We have 10 picks to get to, Marty. We just drafted Kenyon Sadiq for the Chargers at 22. A surprising pick, but makes sense here. You have Philly at 23. If this is the situation, would Philly, you think, trade just up to 22 to have Sadiq? Because it feels like they could use a tight end, but they might stay at 23 and draft an offensive lineman. Is it common to trade up one spot?
Yeah, I mean, if you recall, and I'm trying to think back when Jeremy Shockey, the Giants were picking 14, I think, and they moved up one spot to 13 to get him. And they took some grief, but when you look back in hindsight, it was a great move. I think you do. I think the Eagles will probably be on the phones earlier and trying to move up even more than one pick to try to get an offensive lineman if that would be possible. But yeah, Howie's the type that if they have Sadiq a lot higher on their board and he's sitting there one pick away, then yeah, you could definitely do that. But if they don't, I just think they still stick with the offensive line need and go with Max Ianicher from Arizona State, the offensive tackle who can play guard. He's a physical guy. He's got good size, good measurables, good athleticism. I think that his arrow is pointing up. He's going to get better, I think, as he grows into this league. And can definitely step in, I think, and contribute right away. So I do think the Eagles will be looking to maybe trade up higher if one of those offensive linemen drops and is on the board, maybe in the late teens and high 20s. But if he is not and they don't move up to take a guy like Sadiq, then I think the Arizona State offensive tackle is a great pick for them.
Are you worried that Stoutland's not there anymore, and he's been the guy that has been the catalyst to develop these offensive linemen? He's not there to develop this offensive lineman.
You might be worried deep down, Jeff, but you can't really change your approach because of that. I mean, if you're that worried as a general manager of maybe, position coach wise, then you're really addressing that in the weeks coming up with the head coach saying, okay, listen, how does this work? He's a developmental guy. The arrow's up. He's got a bright future. How does this work? But you really can't let that kind of stuff affect your evaluations of players. And you really have to take the guy that you think has the traits that will fit what you're looking for at the position.
That makes a lot of sense. I had the Cleveland Browns here for their second pick of the first round at pick 24. We have the Browns with the first pick taking Monroe Freeling. So they handled offensive line. This is a position where it feels like wide receiver is in their eyes here. They need a wide receiver. Marty, I'll just ask you because, wide receiver, the guys available right now are Concepcion from A&M and Cooper Jr. from Indiana, maybe Brazel from Tennessee.
Right.
Which one of those three make the most sense for the Browns if they do take wide receiver here?
Well, it's funny, Jeff, because I went back and forth because of just what you said. What receiver makes the most sense for the Browns? And I still ended up going back with the guy I would take for him. But, you would think that they would want maybe a bigger receiver. But, Jeff, Casey Concepcion, I know people get hung up on the 19 drops, but he is so dynamic with the ball in his hands. And if you get him the ball, he's going to make yards. And he is really the receiver that kind of fits what offenses are looking to do. Get him the ball quickly and let him make yards. I just think he's so explosive. You have to keep working on the hands, and hands are very important. It's can they improve? Can they improve going out in the jugs and catching 20 and 30 balls after practice every day? They can. I've seen it happen. We drafted Brandon LaFell out of LSU in the 3rd round,
Yeah.
and he had a little bit under 9-inch hands. Everybody was worried about the hands, and he did have drops. And when he came here, he did have drops, but he was still a receiver who could separate, get open, and make plays. I think Casey Concepcion, his burst, explosion, his ability to make big plays, get yardage in chunks is what this league is all about. And I would have that's who I like for them.
So we'll take a tip shown here for the Browns. If you like what you're hearing here on the GM Shuffle, even more VSiN Pro betting splits, power and sharp analysis, all resign on your first month. Go to vsin.com. Let's check out all the subscription options. Marty, you are up here for the Chicago Bears at 25. Who do you like for the Bears?
Well, I think they're looking at defense. I mean, people think they could be interested in a wide receiver, another weapon, but I think they go defense right now. The Bears draft room kind of all went doubled over at the waist when you took Thieneman off the board, because I do think safety is a need for them with Brisker going. So I'm gonna take Emmanuel McNeil Warren, the safety out of Toledo, for them here. He's a playmaker. I think he's a really good player. In fairness, I did watch limited tape of him, but the people you talk to say that he is definitely a late 1st round pick, and I think that the Bears have the need there at safety with the loss of Brisker.
That feels like a pick for them again. Fix the defense in year 2 under Ben Johnson makes a lot of sense for the Bears to go in that direction at 25. Buffalo at 26, Marty, is really fascinating to me because I think they would have loved to leave the draft with a wide receiver at 26, but maybe not the guys that are still available. So are they a trade-up candidate for a wide receiver? Are they going to be aggressive to get the guy they want? Because right now you're looking at Tate's gone, Lemon's gone, Tyson's gone, Concepcion's gone, Boston is gone. I don't think Cooper Jr. is gone, but I don't know if Cooper Jr. fits what the Bills are looking for as far as wide receiver. Are they a trade-up candidate if, let's say, Jordan Tyson in our draft, right, falls all the way to 19? Or are they a trade-up and get Tyson candidate?
Yeah, they are definitely. They're always a trade up, just like Philadelphia. The Howie Rosemans, the Brandon Beans, the John Snyders of the world. They're not. If they think that there's a player up there that can help them, if they can get the right compensation draft choice wise, they're going to move up and do it. So yeah, I think there is very much a possibility. Listen, every team and all these general managers, really, if you're doing it right, you're on the phone the whole draft, right? And you're kind of calling guys to see what other teams ahead of you are thinking now and doing, and you're also just contacting guys to make sure they know, hey, we're here, we're looking to move, we'd be available to move up. If you want to move back, let us know. And so you're doing all those kinds of conversations. I definitely think that Buffalo will be on the phone constantly. And if there's a deal that works for them to move up and get a receiver that fits them best, I think they will try to do that.
So that's a long-winded way to say that I think Omar Cooper Jr. just has to be the pick here. He's the best wide receiver on the board, Marty, and I think he's better than the defensive ends that are available right now.
Yeah.
We have the top 4 guys off the board already at defensive end, so I will take Omar Cooper Jr. here to be a Buffalo Bill. Again, I don't know if they're going to love to take him at 26, but I think it's the way the board breaks down. So give me Cooper Jr. here to be a Buffalo Bill at 26, Marty. You have pick 27 here for the Niners, who just signed Trent Williams to an extension. A couple different ways that the Niners can go here. What do you like for them?
I'm kind of centered on edge for them,
Okay.
because of the injuries that they have, and I like the Central Florida kid, the Malachi Lawrence,
Okay.
coming off the edge. I think that they've had some injuries there in the past, and that defense is set up by pressure, and I do think it's going to be a defensive pick for San Francisco, and looking at the players that were left, I like Lawrence from UCF. He's got some juice off the edge, can get it the outside shoulder, and he's the edge rusher that's sitting there. And question is, does he get past Buffalo, because Buffalo would also be looking for an edge rusher or a wide receiver. So but right now I got the 49ers taking Lawrence from Central Florida with the 27th pick.
Do you think there's any thought about taking like Lomu or Blake Miller to be the eventual replacement for Trent Williams, or maybe even to stick at right tackle for a couple of years?
Yeah, I did. I was there, but I don't know. I think that I would look to trade back in the second round. Maybe if you were looking to do that, I would try to trade back and get another pick. I'm not sure either of those guys are true first rounders, but now, Jeff, in this area, you're going to get guys who aren't, who are second round picks. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because every year I would even ask some guys that I really trusted, but how many true first round grades do you have on guys? And usually it's anywhere from 15 to 18. And then after that, you really are going into your second round pool. So, but that's the way it is every year, and it doesn't bother you. But that's where we are right here.
On in this draft, how many first round grades? 12 in this draft? Doesn't feel like a lot in this one.
Yeah, I had 14.
Okay. So when you
Okay.
say you call, do you talk to 31 other general managers by the time the draft is like from combine, let's say combine or league meetings, combine league meetings, and by the time the draft hits, have you talked to all 31 general managers about just something about their plan or their grades or who they like?
Or just touching base. Yeah. I mean, any of the above. I think that you really do try, and if it's not all of them, it's certainly most of them. So you're trying to find out information.
Yeah.
You're trying to create, let people know that, hey, we're here and we're willing to make deals. So we want to have conversations. Yeah, I think that that's a big part of it, is just being active and finding out what guys are thinking and letting them know that you're available to move.
Without naming names, was there a general manager that you just knew was feeding you lies every time you talked to him?
I think that listen, I think that when you're in the league long enough, the guys who are in the league long enough, you trust. And if there were guys that I really couldn't believe, I didn't talk to them a lot. But there really aren't a lot, Jeff. Most of the time, you're really upfront with people because you want them to be
Yeah.
upfront with you.
And I'm sure you're upfront when a media member texts you, right? And they ask you who you're picking. You're
You
very
didn't
honest with
say
them
media
about that.
members. You didn't say that. You said other
No.
general.
Now I'm moving to the media members. So of course the media members know everything that's about to happen because of course they do. All right, we have 5 picks left in our mock draft. Then we'll hit a recap of what we've done so far. GM Show was in by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
We're back here on the GM Shuffle. Remember, guys, next Monday after the draft, we'll have a recap. I'm sure our mock draft will have gone 32 for 30. If it does, Marty, we're going to be geniuses. But I feel
You
good.
don't
I
have to
feel
worry
good
about
about pick one. Pick one, I feel good about. We're going to at least have
Yeah.
one. Everyone will get it. It's like a free square, right? In bingo, everyone gets the free square of Mendoza going one. Then we'll figure out what to do moving forward. We have 5 picks left in the draft. I have the Houston Texans at 28. People that write for the Texans, follow Texans, have said that they would trade out of this pick in a heartbeat, Marty, if they could. Maybe they said trade up for
Mhm.
Simpson's spot. If they're here right now, though, there's 3 offensive linemen I think that are their choices here: Lomu, Miller, and you can even pick either of the guards, right? Chase or Rutledge. I do think that it ends up being one of the offensive tackles here. I'm going to take Blake Miller, Marty, out of Clemson because of his experience, the amount of starts he's had, sort of probably ready a little bit now more than Lomu. I think he'd be the highest graded player on the board here at that position. I got Blake Miller here for the Texans at 28. What do you think about that pick?
I like that pick, and I like Blake Miller, and there are going to be a couple of those offensive linemen down here And I did like him. I think he's a pretty good pick. The other thing I was looking at for Houston is could they take a defensive tackle inside, a guy like Caden
Yeah.
McDonald from Ohio State or somebody like that. But I always would prefer the offensive lineman, and I do like Blake Miller a lot, so I think it's a good pick.
You have the Chiefs here at 29, Marty. Curious where you go and who you pick for them. I would, just as a Chiefs fan at this point, there's no wide receiver, in my opinion, that's worth drafting. Maybe there's you drafted Bain already, so it feels like cornerback is the way to go here.
Yeah, and that's the way I went. And again, I mentioned him a few picks earlier, but D'Angelo Pons, the nickel, the corner from Indiana, he has played outside as well. But he's a little bit under 5'9", and people have issues with his height. But man, Geoff, this guy is a flat out baller. I mean, he makes plays. He can cover bigger receivers. He really has very good short area quickness and a fluid turn and in Khmer. It's just the height. You have to get used to the height, but that's why he's down this low because of the height. Because he has all the skill sets you're looking for, all the traits you're looking for in a corner, except for the size. So I think Kansas City comes in here. They get it out of the first round with a defensive pass rusher in Reuben Bain and a corner in D'Angelo Pons. They had a really good day.
Every time I watch Pons play this year, he made plays. Like that simple,
That's
right?
amazing.
He just made plays, right? And intangibles are good and all, but he just made plays. Like that's important. Just doing the math in our head of Big Ten players drafted. 1, 2, 3, 4 so far. That's 5 with Tate at 10. That's 5 already. Wow. You look at 13, 14. So then we got 7 already. Just seeing that we got 8 with Thieneman right here. Boston is 10. Sadiq is 11. This makes a Cooper 12, and now we have Pons 13. The number for Big Ten players to be drafted in the first round, Marty, is 11 and a half. Feels like an over wager might be in play here.
Yeah, I would think so. And I mean, obviously, Ohio State is a big reason for that. But yeah, I would go over if it did
Now,
anything.
there's 2 Oregon guys in here. Come on, Marty.
They
There's,
are, and they're really good players too. Really
there's
good
some
players.
Oregon. Don't short.
So
Indiana's got 2, right? Indiana's got 3
would have
in
been
the first round
would have been three if the quarterback
in
came
our,
out.
in our mock draft. Yeah. All right, Marty. I'm the Dolphins. I have picked 30 here. This is a trade with Denver. Wow. For them, we had them drafting an offensive tackle in their first pick at 11. Wow, what an interesting pick for them, Marty. Here, they sort of need wide receiver, corner, edge player. I mean, some of those guys, just someone to be good for them immediately. Um, oh, I might phone a friend here. What are you doing for the Dolphins here? By the way, is Ty Simpson consideration at 30? By the way.
Um, Not for the Dolphins, but yeah, for somebody moving up in the second round. Yeah, I mean, I don't think with Malik Willis they're gonna take Ty Simpson right now because they got their
Okay.
guy that they want to find out about, and then they would move into next year's draft it for a quarterback if he doesn't work out. I like that. I took the player at 29 that I liked for the Dolphins at 30 and D'Angelo Pons because I thought that he is a personnel pick. And by that I mean that he's got all the traits and skill sets that evaluators, really good evaluators, can see when the player's got the skill set to overcome a flaw or a lack in a certain measurable trait. And I think that would be perfect for them. I think the Dolphins are really set up in the personnel department. They have Kyle Smith as their assistant general manager. So now your GM and your assistant GM are not only sons of either a coach or a personnel executive general manager that had been in the league, so they grew up with the game. They are very, very good personnel evaluators, and they are also young enough to get into understand the analytics part of this. So I like Miami's decision making, and I like Pons here for them. But if he is not there,
Yeah.
they're looking for a wide receiver or an edge.
So who's the best edge right now that is available? So right now in our mock draft, it looks like Folk is still available, Young is still available, Howell is still available. Feels like Howell might be the guy that
Yeah.
would be the pick here.
Yeah.
Right, Howell's still available in our mock draft. I think that's correct. Um, so I'm going to take Cassius
Howard,
Howell
yes.
here, the pass rusher out of I believe Texas A&M. I want to get that correct, so I have that correct. I believe it is. Yes, it is A&M here. Very productive pass rusher. In the Von Miller size, right, 6'2 and a half, 253, a little bit shorter than Von, but a really productive, high effort player. So Howell goes to the Dolphins here, be the pass rusher. Marty, you have the Patriots pick at 31 here.
Yeah. And they are they're looking for several things. I mean, they could use help on the offense line, edge, interior defense line, tight end, wide receiver. Um, I have them going with a player here that I think fits what Mike Vrabel's looking for as far as size and toughness. I did not have a first round grade on him, but I think that Keldrick Falk is a very good fit for Mike Vrabel's defense in
Okay.
New England. The DT/DE out of Auburn. I think he's got flexibility that can move inside and in nickel and outside, and he's a very physical player against the run. And I just didn't see enough playmaking out of him. I was always wanting to see more plays, but he really does fit what a Mike Vrabel defense is all about. And he's strong and he's physical and he's tough. So I'm going to go with Keldrick Falk, the DE from Auburn for the Patriots.
Um, do you think they could go Caleb Lomu here at offensive tackle?
I do. I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just thought that the first round was a little bit too high for him. But I didn't have Falk in the first round, but I think that a
Yeah.
lot of people do. And I just think that he is a really good fit for the type of player that Mike Vrabel looks for.
So pick 32, the champions. Marty, who do you have graded higher between Terrell at cornerback or Chris Johnson or even the South Carolina kid? Who's your highest graded guy? Because I think the Seattle leaves a cornerback here. There's three pretty good ones
Yes.
still on the board here. We've only drafted 4 in the first round. The total, by the way, I believe was 4.5. I bet the over there. So a
I
fifth,
would bet the over.
a fifth one would be nice here. Which one? Johnson, Terrell, or how do you pronounce it? CC?
Brandon Cisse, Brandon
Cisse.
Cisse, and that's who I would go with, Jeff. I like this kid is his from the neck up. He's a smart player. He's got good athletic ability. Very smart. Can play both zone and man. I think he's a better zone cover guy, but just a really solid, accountable, dependable football player. I like the other 2 guys you mentioned, but I just think that this guy is the best guy left on the board, the best corner for sure left on the board. Brandon Cisse from South Carolina.
All right, we have done our 32 picks, Marty. According to DraftKings, for players to be picked in the first round, the most surprising ones are not drafted on our mock draft was Caleb Lomu, who's minus 350, the Utah offensive tackle, and then Chris Johnson minus 250, Peter Woods minus 190, Ty Simpson minus 200. I do want to focus on the quarterback quickly here, Marty. We have a couple minutes left here with Ty Simpson. I think someone trades back up for him in the first
Me
round.
too. I agree.
So you believe that? So which of those
Yes.
teams that do that? Who is there a surprise team? Is there a team you've eyed for this? Who do you think?
I'm sure there could be, but I think the Jets and the Cardinals are the 2 most,
But the Jets
likely
have the
to do
first
it.
pick of the second round, so they don't have to trade up for him essentially, right? I mean, someone have to go in front of them, correct?
Yeah, but if I'm the Jets, I'm pretty much assuming somebody's going to try to get up in the bottom of the first round to take him. It's just when you like a quarterback, if you like him enough to be thinking about him here, you want to get that 5th year option out of him. And listen, This is a kid who doesn't have, he's got a lot that you like. It's just I just don't know whether he's got that wow quality that you're looking for in the first round. But he obviously, everybody thinks he's the obvious second choice here at quarterback. So I do expect somebody to move up into the round. It could be the Cardinals. The Jets, you bring up a great point, Geoff. If you're at 2, do you just sit there and wait? And that's what I would do. I would sit there and wait and see if he got to.
I very much enjoyed this process, Marty. This was a ton of fun to go over this. We have all 32 picks. We have 16 today. We had 16 the first day. Go back to YouTube. It's free to subscribe. That would really make our day if you're able to subscribe there and follow us along this journey. We'll be back on Monday to go over the draft. Marty, I love reading draft grades. I don't know if you ever did as a general manager. I'm sure you did not do that. I read all of them. I cannot wait for the draft so I can read everyone's draft grade. To me, you either get an A or an F. It's either a home run or a bad pick. There's no in between. Obviously, we'll know more next couple of years. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Have a great draft weekend. We'll talk to you guys on Monday. Take care, everybody.